Your live interactive Weather Authority coverage will begin shortly. Your live interactive Weather Authority coverage will begin shortly. Your live Weather Authority coverage starts right now.
Good Sunday evening, everybody, and had a great weekend. Let's talk some weather. We have certainly a pretty big, powerful storm on the way that is going to move in as we head through the overnight hours and into tomorrow. Of course, everybody's heard about it on social media by now, but we are certainly going to see some, I would call it, heavy snow and gusty winds with this storm system as we head into the day on Monday. And really, that's the big difference between a lot of the storms we've seen so far this winter is really, it's not so much the snowfall accumulation that we're going to see. We've had storms that we've seen plenty more snow than we're expecting for the day on Monday. It's the wind that we are going to see with this system that really separates that storm. And that's why we have some blizzard warnings up that have been posted for the coastline. The coastline has the best chance for at least blizzard-like conditions for the daytime tomorrow. We are going to see that from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. That is when the blizzard warning runs from, and a winter storm warning has been posted in the pink shading you can see there, and the purple shading up towards the north of Lewiston, Augusta, you can see over there. That's where a winter weather advisory, but also of note, is across the far north and mountains, areas like Greenville, Jackman, Rangeley. There's nothing in place right now. There's not going to be anything in place because really they're not going to see much in the way of snowfall with this, and the winds will be lighter as well. There really won't be much in the way of wind, at least up towards the far north compared to areas along the coastline. So hope you guys have all had a great weekend, a mostly dry weekend, I guess, if you don't count Saturday morning snow. But we are looking at, again, this storm moving in overnight tonight and into tomorrow morning. Now, satellite and radar shows that we do have some snow down to the south, maybe in Connecticut. You have some family over towards Rhode Island, southern New York, over towards New Jersey, Long Island. The snow is falling and the snow is picking up in intensity down towards parts of, you can see over towards parts of Long Island right now, and we can actually zoom in a little bit closer to these areas. And snow coming down at a pretty good clip already in these areas, and that's going to continue to be the case and continue to intensify as we head through the next 12 to 24 hours or so. But let's zoom way out, and we have a pretty large swath of snow. I mean, it goes all the way from the Cape and Islands all the way down through parts of North Carolina. The actual area of low pressure right now is moving off the coast. It's down to the south, and you can see that's about give or take where it is right now. And it is going to continue to move on up towards the north. And as it does so, it will rapidly intensify. As it intensifies, we are going to see the snow pick up in intensity, especially over towards southern New England. We're also going to see the winds increase as well. Now, the jackpot with this storm system is not going to be in Maine. Areas in especially south of Boston, areas in southeast Massachusetts, over towards parts of New Jersey as well, and even Long Island areas like that. That's where the most snow is going to be found. And, you know, you get towards areas like the Cape or Long Island, for example, and you're talking, there's nothing to stop the wind. So the wind is going to be very strong in these areas as well. And we are going to see a lot of snow down to the south. But here, we'll see a manageable snowfall. Is it going to cause disruptions to travel? Absolutely. But we are going to see a very manageable snowfall with this system for the day on Monday. Again, it's the wind that has kind of separated this storm compared to others this winter. Temperatures out there right now running in the 20s for the most part. We do have some lower 30s as well. Low 30s in Portland, Augusta, Rockland as well, down towards the Portsmouth area, temperature of 33 degrees. Now, these numbers, they're not going to drop too far for the nighttime tonight. We have clouds in place, and when you have overcast skies, a lot of the times you're really not looking at much in the way of a temperature drop, so to speak. So I think most of us will end in the 20s for the overnight hour, but that'll not really go too far for the daytime tomorrow. We're only expecting 20s for highs on Monday. So we are going to see temperatures pretty much to stay in the 20s for the next, say, 36 or so hours. But the wind, really not too much of an impact right now. We do have a wind out of the east, call it anywhere between calm to about 5, 6 miles, 7 miles per hour. Really not a big deal. The winds are not going to be a big deal for the next couple hours. And then things will start to increase as we head into the overnight and especially into the day on Monday. So here's your planner for the next 5 hours. If you have to get out and do some errands before tomorrow, I would get out there right now. We have cloudy skies, dry conditions. Temperatures are going to continue to drop very, very slowly into the low and mid 20s for many spots by the time we wake up tomorrow morning. And then your forecast for tomorrow is pretty simple. It's actually not very simple, but snow and wind. That is what we're talking about for the daytime tomorrow. Almost, especially in the southern part of the state, it's pretty much from sunrise until after sunset, the snow will be falling. If you're up towards Route 2, points north of that, Rangeley area, Rumford even, for example, the snow is going to take a little while to actually get to those regions tomorrow. I would say it doesn't start snowing in areas like Rumford until maybe 10, even 11 o'clock in the morning. So here's the area of low pressure. As we head through the time, you can see this storm is going to pass down to the south. So 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, snow is falling in the southern part of the state. York County is probably at this point at 6 o'clock already seeing some accumulating snow. They've probably already seen snow for maybe an hour or two at this point at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's moving into the Portland area, and it's ever so slightly going to move up to the north. You notice by noon, areas up towards the mountains still aren't even seeing any snowfall. So again, up towards the far north, this is not going to be a big deal, and the accumulations are going to be very low compared to some places. Now, it is going to pass close to that 40-70 benchmark, and what we mean by that is really that's the benchmark where you want a storm to move through if you want, the highest snowfall totals, the strongest winds, and things like that. And that's what we're going to be dealing with for the daytime tomorrow. But it's, again, going to have a higher impact down to our south areas in Massachusetts, over towards New Jersey as well, Connecticut, areas like that, down to the south. That's where we are going to see the highest snowfall totals and the strongest winds. But we are certainly going to see some down towards the southern part of the state. Now, we have 5 o'clock, still snow falling across the region. So the Monday evening commute, if you can avoid that Monday evening commute, I would certainly try to do so. We are going to see call it a moderate snowfall for many areas around 5 o'clock. After about 6 or 7 p.m., things are going to start to lighten up in the western part of the state. And you can see that here is it's going to end between, call it 9 p.m. and midnight for many areas, especially off towards the southern and western part of the state. That's when it will end earlier. It may linger a little bit into the overnight hours if you're over towards the far eastern part of the state. But we are going to see a good amount of snowfall. But I want to show you a closer view to this. And you can see by 10 o'clock tonight, the news is airing. We have the snow just 2 hours south. But you notice just how slow it moves to the north. I mean, 4 o'clock from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., that's a 6-hour window. And it's moved from Portsmouth to, say, Sebago Lake. I mean, that's not a very far time for a 6-hour period. So it's very slowly moving up towards the north. Lewiston, Augusta, you'll probably start to see the snow after 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. And then up towards the far north, it will be a little bit later. But you notice by the time we get to about 9, 10 o'clock, we're starting to introduce some of these darker bands that you see down to the south. So I do think we are going to see some of the heavier snowfall rates start around or after 10 o'clock. 11 o'clock as well, and this continues into the afternoon, early evening hours, 3 p.m., especially the southern and eastern part of the state. It's really, these are the areas that are going to see the highest snowfall totals, especially closer to the coast. If you're south of that line, if you're north of that line, you're really not going to get much in the way of accumulation. You're probably only talking about a coating to a couple inches of snow up towards the north of the mountains. And I'll have the map in about a minute or so, but you notice by 6 p.m. we're still looking at snow for many areas, and then it'll slowly start to wind down. The blues become a little bit lighter, the snow becomes a little bit lighter, and we are going to see things calm down during the overnight hours. So let's talk about snowfall totals, and we have introduced a 9 to 12 inch range down towards York County. We had that for the 6:30 show if you were with us then, and we're keeping with that forecast over towards parts of down east as well. That's where we could see upwards of a foot. I cannot rule out some areas getting some locally higher amounts, but we are going to see 9 to 12 inches for many areas in southern York County. You head up towards Portland, you head up towards down east, or not down east, the mid-coast is what I meant to say. You head up towards the mid-coast, Rockland, even up towards the Bangor area, you're probably talking about 6 to 10 inches of snow. So, I mean, even that, a half foot of snow to upwards of 10 inches is a good amount of snowfall, but we are going to be dealing with wind as well. So we're going to be dealing with the snow falling, but we're also going to be dealing with the blowing and the drifting of snow on top of that. So the visibility is certainly going to be on the lower side as we head into the daytime tomorrow. We are going to see a very tricky travel day, that is for sure. Lewiston, Augusta, 4 to 8 inches should do it for most of that region. And then you head from the Freiburg area, say Route 2 corridor in Oxford County, points north of that. You're only talking a coating to maybe 2 or 3 inches, maybe a spotty 4 in some of the higher elevations. But for the most part, up towards the north, it is going to be really not a big deal, just a coating to a couple inches. And up towards the north, it takes at least a half a foot for them to, experience any travel difficulties, it seems. So this is not really a storm for the north and mountains. This is more of a storm system for southern Maine, but especially for southern New England. I'll come back to this map in just a little bit, but let's talk about a few other things. First, the definition of a blizzard. So people hear the term blizzard and they kind of go crazy. I mean, it's happened, it happens all the time. People think blizzard and they think, oh my God, we're going to see so much snow. It's not so much the amount of snowfall that comes with a blizzard. It's the winds in particular that create the visibility issues. So the actual definition of a blizzard to be written down in the record books as an official blizzard, you need 3 hours or more consecutive of falling or blowing snow that is creating visibility under a quarter of a mile, and also frequent or sustained winds of 35 or more miles per hour. So these are the definitions of a blizzard. And when these definitions are met on the computer models, a lot of the times that's when you get the blizzard warnings that will be issued. So computer models are hinting at the potential that we're going to see gusts or at least sustained winds or gusts upwards of 35 plus miles per hour, quarter mile less visibility. And then we are certainly going to see some blowing snow with this storm system. So that is why we do have that blizzard warning in place, but it does not mean it'll go down in the record books as an actual blizzard. We'll find that out tomorrow if we get those 3 hours of consecutive winds of 35 miles per hour. Also on top of that, the visibility and the blowing and drifting snow. So here's the wind gust that we are expecting. 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Winds are starting to really pick up at this point. We have wind gusts 30 to 40 miles per hour. I think the strongest winds are between about 10 a.m. and 4 or 5 p.m. And that's when we're talking wind gusts, 40 to 50 miles per hour in many spots. Even some areas inland will see some strong gusts as well. Now, of course, don't take these numbers verbatim, but we are going to see, I would say, most areas inland 30 to 40, maybe 45 mile per hour gusts. And then down towards the immediate coastline, especially over towards the islands, you're probably talking wind gusts 40 to 50. And I could see some 55 mile per hour wind gusts as well. So it is going to be on the windy side for tomorrow. And again, that is the biggest reason as to why a blizzard warning is in effect. If it wasn't for the wind, we would just have a winter storm warning. And we've had plenty of those so far this year. So in terms of actual snowfall accumulation, this is not going to be one of the biggest storms. I mean, we've seen numerous storms that have already dropped more snow than what we will see for tomorrow. So it's the wind that kind of separates that, but it's also the wind that makes large waves. And these waves are going to be upwards of 10 to 15 feet. So if you are in, some places along the coastline, we are also going to be running the risk for some coastal flooding. Now, in particular, parts of York County. So let's talk about that a little bit. We do have a coastal flood warning that is in place from 1 p.m. until 6 p.m. on Monday. And that is centered around the high tide at 3:30 in the afternoon. That's when it peaks, between about 3 and 3:30. So we have this coastal flood warning in place for York County, and we are going to likely see minor to potentially moderate coastal flooding with this system. As the winds start to wrap around, we're going to see the winds kind of move onshore once again as we head through that through 2, 3, 4 o'clock time frame tomorrow afternoon, which is why we are going to run the risk for some splash over, and we're also going to run the risk for some minor flooding and potentially moderate flooding on some roadways as well. Could see some beach erosion and things like that as well, especially again down towards the York County area, as we are going to see more of an easterly wind at this time. Now tonight, again, we are going to see cloudy skies, but then snow develops as we head into the daytime tomorrow, and we are talking snow. It will be heavy at times, strong gusty winds as well. And a look at the 7-day forecast, and I'll see some of your guys' comments. You can see we have that weather warning in place for the daytime tomorrow. Then Tuesday, mostly sunny skies expected. We are going to see another round of snow likely on Wednesday. Now we have that one, I would say right now looks like we could see a coating to a couple inches of snow. Now it falls during the daytime. So if you have plans Wednesday, this is not going to be what we're going to see tomorrow, but it is going to be a situation that it certainly could cause some slick roads and spots. Coating to a couple inches is what it's looking like at this point, but I have to admit we're really not too focused on that storm right now. It's more so the Monday storm that we are watching. And then we also have to watch late week on Friday. Computer models are showing the potential for some snow and even some rain. Now, some computer models have the storm to the north and bring us a little bit of rain. Others keep it to the south, bring us a little bit of snow. So models are all over the place on that Friday system, so we'll keep you updated with that. But of course, our focus is on the daytime tomorrow. So let me get back to the snowfall map, and I will get to some of your guys' questions here. Pull up the map, and if you're just joining us, hello. Let's get to some of the comments here. What do we got? How will conditions be in central Maine tomorrow afternoon into the evening? Central Maine, if you're talking, Lewiston, Augusta, up through the Bangor area, I would say you're probably looking at a moderate snowfall, pretty steady during the afternoon, and then it will slowly start to become lighter as we head into the evening hours. Many areas in that region, probably upwards of 4 to 8 inches of snow. But I would say you're still going to be dealing with some pretty slick travel by the time we get to the evening hours, because obviously it's the Monday evening commute that we are most concerned about. Slick spots still certainly possible during the morning commute, especially in southern Maine. Denise, hello to you. When will the storm end? I'm going with 9 p.m. to about midnight tomorrow night. So if you are in the southern and western part of the state, you're probably ending 9, 10 o'clock. If you're over towards the eastern part of the state, honestly, areas like down east, it might linger into the overnight hours, but most of our region from, the mid coast through Augusta, Lewiston, up towards the north and places down towards York County, most of this will end between about 9 p.m. and midnight. How bad? Amy, how bad will travel be in Skowhegan around 10 a.m.? 10 a.m. in Skowhegan. I want to make sure I know where that is. In Skowhegan, I would say I always have to look because I'm thinking of other towns, and I am. Skowhegan, I think 10 o'clock in the morning, you're not too bad. The snow's moving in and probably have already started, but I would say you don't have much in the way of accumulation in Skowhegan at 10 a.m. tomorrow in particular. But yeah, that's what I would say. I would say 10 o'clock, you're probably okay. If you're traveling to somewhere and then traveling back home, it's the travel back home that you need to be more concerned about. What do we got here? Courtney, what will the sustained winds and gusts look like for Biddeford? And yeah, we are still going around 9 to 12 inches for Biddeford. Again, I think sustained winds, you're probably talking 25 to 30, 35 mile per hour sustained winds. And I could see peak wind gusts upwards of 45 to potentially 50, 55 miles per hour. So again, this is going to be a very windy storm, which is, again, as I've mentioned 4 or 5 times, the separation between this storm compared to other storms that we've seen so far this winter. I mean, we had a couple storms that have dropped 15 to 20 inches of snow, and we're likely not going to see that for the daytime tomorrow. However, I do think there will be some banding that sets up like any storm. So there could be some localized higher amounts as well. Barbie, hello to you. One of my biggest followers here. Sydney, I would say, if you're looking for snowfall totals, you're probably, again, in the 4 to 8 range, 4 to 7, 4 to 8 inches in that range. Call it 4 to 7 up towards the Sydney area. And that's what I would probably go with. And that's by tomorrow, 9 to 12 p.m. It'll come to an end during the late, I would say 10 or 11 o'clock tomorrow night is when it will come to an end. So that's what I'm going with in Sydney. Hello to you, Phyllis. Appreciate you watching. What about Brunswick? Winds and snow. Winds on Brunswick, the mid-coast, I would say the mid-coast will probably see the strongest wind gusts. We are going to see probably wind gusts in Brunswick close, if you're along the coastline, close to 45 to 55. Most of us will be about 40 to 50, but I could anticipate some places reaching 55-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Snow totals, you're probably looking at 6 to 10, probably closer to the higher number, closer to the coastline. So maybe 9, 10 inches of snow, give or take, in the Brunswick area. That's what I would say there. And JD Rock, good question. This is actually something I haven't touched on. Power outages. So I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of power outages, and I'll tell you the reasons why. Because the snow is going to be a very light, fluffy snow, powdery snow, and that is great because if we, even had 6 to 10 inches of snow with these winds and it was a wet and heavy snow, it would stick to everything. It would stick to the trees. It would stick to the power lines. And that's when you're going to get the issues. But the snow is very fluffy. So a lot of these snowflakes are going to hit the power lines and then just fall right over. And the wind's going to be so strong that any snowflake that tries, or any snowflakes that try to stick to it, will probably just get blown off. So the only reason that I'm going with scattered power outages is simply because we're going to see wind gusts upwards of 40 to 50 miles per hour. So timing, I guess you could say, would be late morning through the afternoon, but I don't anticipate very many outages for the daytime tomorrow. So that is some good news, of course. And then I'm going to get to some of your guys' comments here. Just give me 1 second. I wish I could say I know where everyone is talking about when they mention their town, like Ralph here. I had to look up where Kingfield was. I just did, though. Kingfield, this isn't a big storm for Kingfield. Up towards the north of Lewiston. I mean, you're talking, you're probably only talking a coating to a couple inches of snow, 2-3 inches of snow. And you might not see a snowflake in the Kingfield area up towards the north and mountains until 11, 12 o'clock tomorrow. So you're probably going to wake up tomorrow morning and it's just cloudy and you're wondering where the snow is. Well, the snow is down to the south and it'll slowly move on up, but we aren't going to see much in the way of accumulation down towards up towards the Kingford area. York, Kittery, areas like that. That's where Maine's jackpot is. And I say Maine because the actual jackpot of this storm is going to be in parts of Massachusetts and parts of New Jersey, Long Island, places like that. But Maine's jackpot will be in southern York County and potentially even over towards parts of coastal down east. But I'm going upwards of a foot of snow in the York area, Kittery area, Portsmouth, places like that. That's where we're probably going to see upwards of a foot of snow, and that is by tomorrow night. And the winds will be on the strong side, especially if you're down towards the immediate coastline. Rumford, you're not going to see too much. You're probably looking at maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 inches of snow, but it's going to be a light, fluffy snow. You'll still see some gusty winds, but Rumford, it probably doesn't start snowing until mid to late morning hours in the Rumford area. And then we have Kennebunk. Eva, hello to you. Kennebunk, again, pretty similar to what I was saying about York. I mean, you're going to be upwards of 9 to 12 inches of snow. So you could see upwards of a foot of snow in Kennebunk area, Kennebunk Port, Old Orchard Beach. A couple of people were mentioning about Old Orchard Beach. We are going to see, again, a lot of places like that see upwards of 9 to 12 inches of snow. Now, Randa here talking about Westbrook. Now, Westbrook, areas like Portland, areas like Buxton, for example, if you're over in Gorham, if you're in Westbrook, if you're in this region south of Sebago Lake, you're in the 6 to 10 range. I would be pretty surprised if a lot of these places saw double-digit totals, but could get upwards of 10 inches of snow. I would say a lot of the places like Gorham and Westbrook and Portland and Buxton and, in that region, you're probably talking, 8 to 9, maybe 10 inches of snow with this one. And then I wish I could get to all of your guys' comments. There's just so many comments that I'm not going to be able to get to all of them. Augusta, 4 to 8 inches of snow. I would say we kept this map pretty much the same. We just added that 9 to 12 down towards York County. We are going to see the Augusta area probably upwards, call it a half foot, give or take an inch or two. That's what I would say for the Augusta area. And one more question. This is actually a good one. Any coastal flooding for Old Orchard Beach? So Old Orchard Beach is, York County has a coastal flood warning. Now, tonight at around 2:15, I think it is, or 2 o'clock, give or take, in that region in the morning. So the overnight hours, there is a high tide. And I would say there's the potential for some splash over, some minor flooding and coastal flooding in the, especially in the York area. But, along the coastline, there's the potential for splashover simply because we're going to see waves upwards of 10 to 15 feet as we head into tomorrow afternoon. But I want to mention in particular Old Orchard Beach in that area for the afternoon, because the afternoon is when we are going to see a better chance for the flooding, and that could be minor to moderate coastal flooding. So if you're in flood prone areas, just please be aware of that. And it's not just York County. I mean, other places may see it as well, especially up towards Cumberland County. But the biggest reason is we're going to see large waves. So large, 10, 15 foot waves crashing into the shore is going to bring the chance for some splashover, some storm surge as well. Could certainly cause some issues for some of those flood prone areas for the daytime tomorrow. And that is, again, high tide that will be during the late after mid afternoon, call it around 3:30 in the afternoon. How high will the winds be? Jenny, hello to you. How high will the wind be in Portland? Portland, I would say, you're going to see gusts upwards of 50 miles per hour for many areas along the coastline. I mean, this includes from Portsmouth all the way up to Bar Harbor and points east of that. I mean, we're talking wind gusts 55 mile per hour wind gusts max. That's the maximum sustained or gust. I mean, I'm talking about. That's not so much a sustained wind. That is the actual the highest peak wind gust you'll see is probably between 45 to 55 miles per hour. So we are going to certainly see some strong winds with this. And I would say this is a good question. Is there any chance for the storm to move closer and the amounts to increase along the coast? We're going to, of course, keep an eye on it. I would say this map will be very similar into tomorrow morning. That would be my guess. I don't think the models are pretty consistent with what's going to happen. I don't think it's going to, have a major shift in the next, say, 12 hours or so. So I would pretty much use this map, and that's probably what we're going to be sticking with. There could be some very minor changes tomorrow morning. We'd, of course, have to see tomorrow morning. But again, I just want to mention, I've been getting text messages, Facebook messages today about, people hearing the term blizzard. You may have gotten the alert on your phone. You may have seen it on social media. You may have seen it on TV or something like that. Again, blizzard warning does not mean more snowfall. That is the simple way of putting that. We've had winter storm warnings this winter that have dropped 15 to 20 inches of snow. So a blizzard warning does not mean more snowfall. It simply means that there's a wind element to it. And that wind element is going to bring the chance for blowing and drifting snow, is going to bring the chance for reduced visibility and things like that. So that's really the reason for the blizzard warning. And with no sticky, wet snow expected, I don't anticipate many power outages. So I'm trying not to hype this storm up too much because, it's going to cause some travel difficulties tomorrow, but I don't anticipate that this is going to be some blockbuster event. We've had bigger snowstorms this winter, a couple bigger snowstorms this winter than we'll see tomorrow. Again, the only difference is that we haven't really seen the wind with it as compared to what we will see for the day on Monday. So stay up to date with me. If you can follow me on my Facebook page at Meteorologist Ryan Munn, and I will continue to keep you guys updated, of course, if there's any changes, and I will be in tomorrow afternoon and evening. Charlie and I will take over, and then you'll have Hannah and Emily in the morning. And we will have you guys fully covered on this storm for the daytime tomorrow. I'm sure we'll be doing cut-ins, keeping everybody up to date. And again, follow my page if you want some more updates. I hope you guys all have a great evening. And hopefully you can work from home, stay home if you can tomorrow. Maybe you can have the day off or something like that. That'd be great. I would just avoid travel as much as you can because sunrise to sunset, the snow is going to be falling for most of us, and the roads are certainly going to be tricky, but Monday evening in particular. All right, everybody, I am out of here. I will be back on at 10 o'clock on TV. Hope you can join me then, and have a great rest of your night.